Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Eddie Jennings from EJSLLC.com. In this video I'm going to take the existing DNS server that was made in the previous video for my home lab and expand some of its capabilities. Before I do, I want to do a couple little housekeeping things. Remember, if you enjoy the content of this video, make sure that you click like and also subscribe to the channel and click the bell so you can be notified when new content comes available. Also, feel free to share this video with anyone you think might find some use out of it for their workings in Bind. And as well, leave comments yourself on the video, in particular if you have some experiences with Bind and making zones and such, because the goal is for everyone to be a part of the discussion and learn from one another so you can have a successful deployment of Bind either in your home lab or in your production environment. So getting into it, what we're going to be doing in this video, like I said, is taking the existing DNS server that was made for the lab, and I'm going to be altering the configuration in two ways. One, I'll be telling it to no longer forward everything to an outside resolver, and two, I'm going to be telling it to try to load a particular zone so it itself is able to answer queries for that zone. We'll also go through the process of making the zone file itself. The zone that we're going to be working with is ejslab.com, which is a domain that I own, and that's the domain that I want to use for my internal assets, so that way as I'm building more VMs and such for the lab, I'll be able to refer to them by name rather than by IP address. I won't have to keep up with host files on all of them. I can just use my internal DNS server for that. So without further ado, let's jump in and get to reconfiguring the DNS server. So here we are on the client machine, and I'm going to ping something on my internal network here. So I'm going to do kvm01.ejslab.com, and that's going to fail because right now our DNS server doesn't know anything about the ejslab.com zone, nor do the root servers know anything about this or they could probably figure out trying to contact COM and such, but there is no A record out there for kvm01.ejslab.com. So what we're going to be doing is getting our DNS server to where it is able to answer this kind of query. So I'm going to move over and I'm going to log in to the DNS server. Alright, so now we're in. One of the first things I'm going to do is change to root. It's going to make making our zone files a little bit easier, so I'll do sudo-i for that. So I'm now in as root. So I'm going to work in backwards order. We're going to make the zone file for ejslab.com first, and then we're going to reconfigure named to actually use this zone file. So I'm going to navigate to the var named directory. And if I were to do ls to take a look at the file listing, you don't see much in here outside some of the default stuff that is put in by named, such as the named.ca is going to have all of your root domain servers and such in it. So we're going to make a file that's going to be our ejslab.com zone file. Now you can name this whatever you want. The convention that I'm using is something I've seen pretty commonly on the internet, so we'll follow suit. I'm also going to use VI for my text editor. You can use whatever text editor you like. I'm the most comfortable with VI, especially for some just simple stuff like this. So I'm going to do VI ejslab.com.db. And we have just an open text file here. So I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail about the different components as much as just kind of show you what you need to do, but I will try to provide some detail as I know it. I'm not an expert in DNS. I know my way around it, but I can't recite all of the RFC specifications and such. So to be able to edit your file in VI, you need to be in insert mode, so you'll press the I key on your keyboard for that. First line we're going to add is TTL. I'm going to set this at 3600 seconds. Now I believe you can use like hour, minute, days and such. The RFC supports that, but most of the files that I've dealt with always have this kind of thing in seconds. We're also going to establish origin, and we're going to call that ejslab.com dot. The dot here is important because the actual truly fully qualified domain name is ejslab.com dot. That dot, the last dot, represents just the root domain itself, so it needs to be there. Next, we're going to make a start of authority zone, and this is a key thing. Every DNS zone has to have what is specified as this is authoritative for answering questions or answering queries rather about the particular zone. So we'll start with the @ symbol, which references origin, if I recall correctly. I'm going to use tabs to do the spacing. You can just use just non-tab spaces if you want. I tend to use tabs just because it makes the file a little bit easier to read. So we're going to do IN for internet. Internet type, I believe, if I recall off the top of my head. SOA, start of authority. And the server that is going to be the authoritative server is going to be our name server here. So I'm going to do ns-demo.ejslab.com dot. And then recall that .com dot is giving that truly fully qualified domain name. Next, we're going to add a rather strange looking email address. This is representing who the responsible party is for this zone. Since this is an internal zone, it's not going to be that significant, but if you're doing something external, you know, there needs to be a way to contact whoever is in charge of the zone in case there's some issue going on. So I'm just going to do admin.ejslab.com. Now notice I don't have an @ symbol. For this, the first dot is functioning as the @ symbol for the email address. If you have dots in your name or in the name part of your email address, you can escape those, I believe, with a backslash. So if I had like, you know, eddie.jennings@ejslab.com, I would do eddie \.jennings. Which functions as the then the domain ejslab.com. So now we're going to do an open parentheses because we're going to add some parameters here. So I'm going to tab over a little bit, and the first thing I'm going to make is a serial number. Now this serial number, along with the other parameters that we're going to be setting, is more significant if you have secondary DNS servers, because they're going to be looking to this server that's the start of authority or master server to get information about the zone. And thus we have to have ways of being able to tell these secondary servers, you know, have changes happened, how long should you trust the information that the start of authority is giving, and what to do if you query the start of authority, it doesn't have the record that you're wanting, how long until you try to query it again versus just returning the fact that a record doesn't exist or there's some problem with the record. So the first number is the serial number. You can make this whatever you want. For my lab, I tend to do the date for that. So 12/22. Tab over a couple of times, the all important semicolon, and then I usually put a description. So if you had secondary DNS servers, they're going to compare the serial number they have for the zone to this, and if the serial number on the start of authority server is higher, then it's going to say, hey, give me the new information. So if you're having to make changes, if you have secondary DNS servers and you're making changes a good bit, the date might not be the best serial number to use. But I know in my lab I'm not going to be making that many DNS changes, and also I know that this is going to be the only DNS server for right now in my lab, so the serial number is not going to be that important for me. So the next parameter we're going to do, Do that 3600, and that is again in seconds, and we're going to call this the refresh period. And what this is telling your secondary servers is after 3600 seconds, you need to contact the master server and get new zone information. And when it contacts that, it'll check the serial number. If the serial number is changed, then it will load that new information. Next, set this to 600 seconds is the retry period. So this is telling the secondary servers that if you try to contact the master server and it doesn't respond, try again after this number of seconds. Don't immediately like drop the information you have about the zone. Keep the information you have, but try again to get updated information. Then I'm going to set this one. This actually is 4 or 7 days worth of seconds. So this is related to the other two in the fact that so you've been retrying the master server, and then after a certain amount of time, then you've been trying that master server, but the zone information that you have you should no longer trust. Thus the expire time. This if I'm correct, the spec says that this has to be greater than the refresh plus retry period, and it kind of makes sense. You don't want the zone to expire before you have a chance to refresh it, or before you have made some attempts to talk to that master server. And the last value, I'm going to do my close parentheses here. This is negative or minimum TTL. And what this is saying is for a secondary server, if you get a response from the master server that's like record doesn't exist, how long to wait before you, or rather how long to cache that that response of record does not exist. All right. So for that is it for the start of authority record, which is one that every zone has to have. Next, we're going to do another @ symbol. This is going to be internet type name server. This is, I'm going to do another tab. So nsdemo.jslab.com. And so what this tells our zone is that the name server that is available for answering queries is nsdemo.ejslab.com. Don't want to forget that final dot there. However, we need to be able to resolve that name. So after our NS record, we're going to make our first A record, and we're going to call that nsdemo. It's an A record and the IP address, which is going to be 250. So at this point, this is the bare minimum of what you would need for your zone file. Now, you would also, if this was a publicly facing zone and maybe you're hosting a website with this, you're also going to have an A record that would just be the zone itself, ejslab.com. I'm not doing that for this, mainly because I'm not going to be hosting any websites right now. If I do make some internal websites, I'll probably make a change to DNS, which I'll get in the habit of updating that serial number, so when I eventually have secondary servers and such, they'll be able to function with that. We're also going to make another A record and do this for our demonstration. I'm going to do KVM01, which is what I'm going to use for my my KVM host, and that is 1.3 for its record. So at this point, our zone file is complete. If you were using VI like I am, you can press the escape key to get back to command mode. And there's an old joke with VI that it takes longer to exit VI than it does to actually do the work that you want. But of the couple of ways you can do this, I like doing :X because that both closes the file and writes changes at the same time. And so I can do cat on this, and we see all of our zone information. There is a utility with named that you can use to check the validity of your zone, and that's going to be name named.checkZone. We'll feed it the name of the zone, which is ejslab.com, and the file name, which I'll use tab completion for that. And it finds no problems with it. So we have our zone file. Now we need to go back to the named.conf file to both tell it to stop forwarding everything, as well as tell it to try to load this zone so it's able to answer queries for it. So I'm going to change directory into Etsy. Use vi again, named.conf. Now you don't have to be root to do this, but you'll just be putting sudo in front of vi to make the changes. So for this, that's just why I'm logged into root, just to make this a little bit easier. So we have our named.conf. I'm going to go down to the line that says forward only. Now I have seen that forward only, if you have a zone loaded, it will it'll still try to answer questions or answer queries for that zone, which I find kind of surprising. I'm still going to remove this because I'd like to try to have my configuration files to where truly only the configurations that I want should be present in the file. So just to delete this line easily, I'm going to press the letter D on the keyboard twice, DD, and that will delete the line. Really what it's doing is cutting it so you could paste it later, but for our purposes it's getting rid of the line. I'm going to move down to where the root zone is configured. I'm going to press I to go into insert mode, and we're going to make our new zone. So we'll use the zone parameter, or zone option rather, and the name of our zone is ejslab.com dot, and type is internet. We're going to start our curly braces, and this is going to be type master. We do not have any secondary servers. Also, we end that with the semicolon, and then file. I'm going to put the full path to the file, and end that with a semicolon. And then one other directive I'm going to give it is allow update none. The reason why I want to have that is I don't want anything other than me explicitly going into my DNS server and making a change to the zone file to be doing any kind of updates on this zone file. So we'll close our curly braces, our curly brace rather, and add the all-important semicolon. And at this point, the named.conf is finished. That's all that we need to do. So I'm going to press escape, :X to exit and write. And if I want to, I can cat named.conf. And you can see where our zone information is there. So there's also a tool just like the check zone where you can check the configuration. So named.check or -checkconf. We tell it the file. So this will be named.conf, and it returns nothing, which is good, because if it returns something, that means there's a problem. And just to kind of show you what that would look like, I'm going to go back into named.conf, and after ACL, let's add a line here, just some nonsense text. Save that, named.-checkconf, and it's going to complain that there's an unknown option named all of that. Now, this really should return nothing, because if I were to restart named, it's going to fail, because that configuration file is not valid. So let me go back into named.conf. I'm going to get rid of that line. Save. If we were to do, I'm going to clear the screen here, named.checkconf. We don't have any errors anymore. And now if I were to try to restart named.conf, oh, can't restart it because it's not there. Yeah, I know what I did. So I'm just going to start the service, named.d, not named.d.conf, and no errors. Let's check out the status. And we see it's active and running. And also saying all zones loaded. We don't see any errors, and notice that it has ejslab.conf loaded with the particular serial number that we have. So if I were to go back to our client machine, and I'm going to ping kvm01.ejslab.com, and now that resolves. Also, I can ping our name server, nsdemo.ejslab.com. In addition, since this is a forwarding server, we have outside DNS resolution. So if I were to ping like cnn.com, it's able to resolve that. And then just proof positive, let me open a web browser real quick. Let's see if we can still browse to my business site. And yes, we're able to do that. So at this point, we have reconfigured the server to not just forward everything. We've also reconfigured the server, the DNS server that is, to try to load a zone named ejslab.com, and we've made the zone file for ejslab.com, so we can query stuff by name rather than having to use IP addresses. So I hope you found this video useful. If you did, don't forget to click like on the video. Also subscribe to the channel. Make sure you share this with folks that you think might find some use out of it. As always, thank you for your time, and I will see you the next time.